as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
Circus, but circus sells. So I know it's going to do good numbers and etc. So I wish him all the best, but it's just not for me. Like it actually, like it makes me feel a bit sick having to watch that. You know.
I mean, Jake Paul might be too big for him, but like Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know.
The boxing world is buzzing as Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis sign for a mega fight. Legends and top analysts have weighed in, and the predictions are sharply split. Many believe Tank's elite timing and ring IQ give him a clear path to victory. Others argue Jake's size and power will simply be too much to handle. Ryan Garcia didn't try to be poetic, he went viral. Boxing is the WWE. He's not saying the punches aren't real, he's saying the incentives are. Look at the numbers, he argues. A near 200 lb headline magnet versus a 135 lb finisher with crucial details, contracted weight, glove size, round count still being clarified.
I think I touched on it before. I think it's kind of, what is it? I don't know what that fight is for. You know, at the end of the day, obviously it's for money. So it's a money fight. And it's a fight that, I don't know. It's up to you guys to take it serious or not. It's just entertainment. That's all it is.
That ambiguity, Garcia says, feels scripted even if the blows won't be. For him, this is the era distilled. Content first, competition second. He's worked with Jake and shared a ring with Tank, so the critique hits differently. It's not outsider sniping. It's someone who knows both engines under the hood. Garcia's other point is pragmatic and cynical at once. If the night lands around 195 pounds and the ring feels big, mass and leverage can erase pedigree for stretches, especially in an exhibition where urgency can drift. He's not blindly picking against Tank. He's side-eyeing the framework that makes a 7-inch height gap and kg difference plausible in the first place. And yet, his flamethrower commentary also spotlights the counter-narrative. If the setup looks absurd and Tank still paints the canvas, it's a win for the craft that Garcia himself respects. Either way, his WWE tag captures the culture war. Are we here for sport or show, or both, in whatever ratio sells?
All I know is, you know, he came to my house when I was still training in the garage, and he visited me out of nowhere. And I told him about boxing. Then I brought him into the Canelo gym. My dad was one of his first trainers. Nobody knows this. And my dad trained him.
Shakur Stevenson didn't hedge. Jake can't beat Tank, period. His logic is pure technician at the sharp end of elite timing and ring IQ bend physics. Shakur maps out a fight where the bigger man's best weapons become triggers, that long right hand. If Tank feints to freeze the shoulder, slips outside, and fires the left while stepping off the line, the punch morphs into an entry pass for Tank's counter.
Any way you could, any realistic or legitimate way in your mind, you could see Jake Paul winning a fight against Tank?
No.
No way.
Nope.
That jab into frame sequence Jake likes. If Tank reads the rhythm and changes level at the right beat, he can get underneath it, touch the body, and slide out before the return, forcing Jake to reset stance and feet multiple times per minute. Over time, that's tempo theft. Stevenson also points to the exhibition rhythms. Danger and adrenaline can dip between bursts. The fighter with better concentration economy often steals rounds. In that world, Shakur favors Tank by decision.
Thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy.
Not because Tank lacks the power to end things, but because do no stupid wins in a ring where size punishes impatience. He's basically saying the smaller genius can make every minute a speed and angle exam, and Jake, who's improved fast, would have to ace a test designed by a lifelong honor student. The result isn't a meme. It's a slow, professional suffocation that leaves the bigger man chasing shadows. Andre Berto strips this right down. Atlanta plus Netflix plus a lightning rod matchup equals a business bulls. He frames it as a strategic financial move, not a sacred sporting ritual, and says Tank isn't sweating purists, especially after feeling fans turn on him post-Roach. In Berto's read, Al Heyman and the Machine want the biggest, cleanest lever this quarter. An exhibition with a massive crossover star is the lever.
Yeah, man, how this boxing game goes, right? I'm not surprised that he made a fight like that happen. Because he doesn't care what you think anymore. Gervonta does not care what y'all think anymore. The way he felt after that Roach fight, how he felt like everybody turned on him. He was already talking about retiring.
Atlanta's the right city, fans show up, and Netflix is the right megaphone, frictionless entry for 300+ million subs. If you want to understand why this exists, he says, stop arguing romance and follow the incentives. Does that mean he doubts Tank? No. It means the why is reach and revenue, then the how is up to Tank once the bell rings. He even flips the purist complaint on its head. If Tank walks into a size canyon and still wins, the show becomes a showcase for skill in front of casuals who might never watch a typical undercard. Love it or hate it, that's how 2025 matchmaking gets greenlit. A big platform, a city that moves tickets, and a storyline combustible enough to pull in people who don't know what a WBA lightweight strap is. Berto's verdict: stop pretending the marketplace doesn't vote first. It just did.
And I already know Al said, you know what? Forget what they talking about. I'm going to send you to the bank. I'm going to send you to the bank and make sure you get paid. And whatever you want to do after that, that's your business. But let's go get this money. Y'all need to understand the psychology of what's going on here. He's not caring about what you think.
From Lamont Roach's vantage point, this isn't a clever pivot, it's a swerve around unfinished business. After a controversial draw with Tank in March, Roach expected the quickest path back to clarity: run it again, clean or be cleaned. Instead, he woke up to a Netflix poster with Jake Paul. Roach didn't keep his reactions subtle. He went full duck emojis on X and let the implication scream. Tank chose a show over a rematch. For Roach, this is about the order the sport promises: mandatory paths, rematches when scorecards stink up timelines, and champions answering the loudest questions first. He's not blind to money. He's saying the belt storyline shouldn't be collateral damage for a blockbuster exhibition. And there's leverage in that stance. The more fans agree, the louder the "okay, now settle this" energy gets the second Atlanta's confetti falls. Roach has even entertained other names, Shakur, if schedules slide, but his preferred headline remains Davis. Roach II because it cleans the mess between the ropes, not just in the comments. Whether or not you think Duck is fair, his reaction captures the fracture line of modern boxing: legacy track versus spectacle track. This fight jumped tracks. Roach is daring Tank to jump back.
You know, man, that I got the skills to pay the bills. I've been telling y'all that. And I'm just glad I got to show it, honestly. I'm glad I got to show it. I appreciate, like I said before, I appreciate true boxing media. Some guys that didn't count me out. So that's just how I feel, man.
Spencer Oliver isn't romantic about influencer fights, but he's precise about Davis's path. His map is a 3-step loop: beat the jab, win the angle, bank the round. When Jake prods with the lead hand to set the right, Tank doesn't need to win power, he needs to win position. Slip outside the line, hook short, and walk Jake onto punches that don't need wind up.
Should he retire?
If he doesn't win at the weekend, that is a huge problem, yeah. That is a huge problem. Whether he should retire or not, I mean, that would be down to him, his decision. But
if Jake tries to shepherd Tank to the ropes, the answer isn't to shell and hope. It's to take the diagonal exit so the bigger man keeps turning and never gets both feet planted. Oliver calls out the exhibition trap, sleepy middles where the rhythm dies, and says that's where an elite operator steals minutes. Sting, slide, score, reset like a metronome. Over time, the bigger man's frustration generates free mistakes: reaching jabs, squared shoulders, slow recenters. That's when Tank's left hand becomes a problem that physics can't solve, because it arrives during the opponent's transition, not in an even exchange. Oliver isn't predicting a walkover, he's sketching a winnable pattern for a smaller genius against a disciplined giant. And the elegance of that blueprint is the point. You don't have to shrink the ring, you need to shrink the target and the time windows where the big man is actually set to fire. Paulie Malignaggi didn't critique this matchup, he torched it. Across podcasts and his own channel, he framed Paul vs. Davis as peak theater, another episode in a year where algorithms seem to sit on the sanctioning committee. He'll give Tank credit for being a surgical finisher and still argue the trend is bending the sport out of shape. Rules feel negotiable, sizes feel surreal, and the event keeps swallowing the craft that built boxing in the first place.
The fight, because they don't complain about anything, these kind of guys. We live in a generation where there's a little bit of groupie syndrome, where no matter what the person these people follow, they are up for it, and they people are supportive of it no matter what. And that shouldn't really be the case. You should really form your own opinion, even if you like the person, if they're doing something that you don't like,
It's a flamethrower take, punchy, cynical, and designed to trend, because Paulie has no appetite for middle ground when spectacle jumps weight classes this aggressively. The irony, of course, is that his outrage sells the night. That's the paradox Jake Paul has turned into a business model. The more scorched the commentary, the hotter the clicks. Paulie even hints at a meta prediction: no matter who wins, the stream numbers will say the quiet part loud about what draws in 2025. If Tank wins, Paulie argues a little bit of the old order survives another day. If Jake wins, he says the sport slides a little further down the content ramp. Either way, the discourse is gasoline, and Paulie just threw a match.
The heavyweight, anybody is in the sweepstakes for a Jake Paul opponent. It's imagine being able to call out or being able to fight anybody in any weight class, and people will tune in to watch. I mean, I was talking about a low intelligence level of boxing fans, but takes a super low level of intelligence of a fan to fall for that one.
Tony Bellew isn't hedging a thing. Asked flat out how he sees this going, the former cruiserweight champ said Gervonta Davis wins, and he wins with style. Bellew's read is simple but sharp. If the smaller man is also the better operator, class tells over time, even against a heavier frame. He expects Davis to make the ring small in the moments that matter, punish Jake's resets, and turn the fight into a lesson that looks as good as it scores. Bellew's also been spicy about the road to this matchup.
Jake's not putting on no one because it would end immediately right there and then. The other claim to fame is slapping the shit out of your trainer. But I'm not going to be disrespected by anyone, especially a young child. I don't want no problems, but if you've got a problem, then no problem.
On X, he went at the build-up itself, swiping that the AJ chatter was a decoy to keep the spotlight warm until this Netflix exhibition was locked. Whether you buy the conspiracy or not, Bellew has planted a flag where casuals can see it. The size will be noisy, but the skills will be louder.
Okay, fought Anderson Silva. I think he did fight Anderson Silva and beat Anderson Silva, and everyone wants to harp on about Anderson Silva beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Please just stop. Just stop. Just fight real fighters.
Shawn Porter rolled his eyes at the premise. I don't want to see the Paul fight. It's an event. It doesn't make sense. But then he made the kind of prediction you can clip and headline. I'm betting on Tank by knockout.
And he asked, what do you think fighters can learn from Jake Paul? I said, fighters, when we turn pro, we just go from being in this sport as an amateur to now we're being a professional, and now we're making money. Mm-hmm. Nobody tells us that we are a entertainer.
Yes.
Right. And he knows how to entertain.
Porter knows he's picking a smaller man against a much bigger frame. He just trusts elite timing to find a clean window when discipline slips. In his breakdown, the danger isn't a one-punch miracle. It's the way in a level southpaw converts one reach, one square reset, one lazy exit into the shot that changes the night. That's why he can hate the optics and still back a finish. It's not romance, it's the math of mistakes. Mistakes he thinks Tank will force.
And, and the thing that I really appreciate about Tank is he's a dog. That kind of what he just said, you can put them earmuffs up and go at it. Mm-hmm. He kind of will assess you as well, and whatever he needs to do, he'll do it.
Shawn Porter is allergic to fluff. Asked about Paul Davis earlier this year when the rumors first started to look real, he didn't bother disguising his irritation. I don't want to see the Paul fight. It is an event. It doesn't make sense. That's the purist talking. 2 beats later, the analyst showed up. Porter still picked Gervonta Davis by knockout. The logic is classic Porter. Acknowledge the size gap, then explain how elite timing and decision-making under pressure turn one bad reset from the bigger man into the mistake. He's not predicting a cartoon one-punch eraser. He's predicting that when you place a world-class finisher in front of a developing one, the smaller star can manufacture the sequence he wants.
You know, it's funny because you got the boxing world that's ready to knock Jake Paul down. I'm not really ready to knock him down. But then you got the other side of the world that's like, they don't understand, and they're like, they're so for Jake.
Stephen A. Smith saw the poster, saw the platform, and went full caps. It's a circus. It's the clip you show a person who doesn't follow boxing but knows a spectacle when they see one. His gripe lands where the casual audience lives. A near 200 lb influencer fighting a 135 lb champion on Netflix, with lingering questions about rules, glove size, and rounds.
Steven, I wanted you to come on the show to tell me that you think I'm a great boxer.
I think you're a damn good boxer with a lot of potential. And I got one problem with you, and I told you this already. You are skilled.
That stew tastes less like a sanctioned contest and more like a primetime TV event, and Stephen A. is happy to say the quiet part loud. The content machine eats that tone. It also spreads the announcement far beyond boxing's bubble. What's unintentionally valuable about Smith's rant is the on-ramp it creates for your viewers. When they arrive through outrage, they're perfectly set up for the next beat of your script. Okay, but inside the ropes, what's likely to happen? In other words, Stephen A. primes the funnel. You close it by switching from optics to answers.
Gervonta Davis might be every bit as box office as Maverick himself. As exciting as electric. Because this dude performs every time out, y'all.
He also echoes the concern that the exhibition label can mutate fan expectations. Does a decision mean anything? Do knockdowns count the same? Are there guardrails that change risk calculus? Those are valid questions for an event being built for maximum reach. And yet rants like this don't dim the spotlight, they brighten it. That's the paradox of the Jake Paul economy. Condemnation is currency. The more commentators scream circus, the higher the intent to watch, either to see a comeuppance or to witness the upset the trailer seems to promise. In 2025, controversy and curiosity are siblings, not enemies. Smith, knowingly or not, is doing what he always does, setting the stakes in a way the mainstream understands. The sport will take it from there.
We can debate the top fighter in the world pound for pound. We can do that. What we cannot do is debate who's the most exciting fighter, who's the biggest box office attraction in boxing. That would happen to be Gervonta Davis. We just gotta accept it.
Daniel Cormier didn't jump in to pick a winner. He jumped in to explain why your aunt who never buys PPV suddenly cares, Netflix. On his channels and radio hits, DC zeroed in on how one-click distribution turns curiosity into viewership. No cable hoops, no PPV math, just a tile next to your favorite docuseries that says Paul versus Davis. Live.
I'm all for fun fights. I'm all for big events. I will talk about what the fight entails. I don't think for 1 second that Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul in a boxing match is a complete mismatch on the side of Gervonta Davis.
Add the novelty, a cruiser-sized celebrity versus an elite lightweight, and you've got a story that spills into MMA, NBA pods, and everything in between. Cormier's message: the platform, size contrast, and cultural crossover are the engine, whatever you think about the matchmaking committee. Crucially, DC's presence signals something the boxing world sometimes underestimates: cross-sport validators matter. When a two-division UFC champion spends airtime on your event, the Venn diagram between fight fans starts to overlap in a way that algorithms understand instantly.
But there's some real danger in that fight. Imagine if Gervonta Davis knocks this dude out. People would go absolutely crazy. But Jake knows, right? Because Jake knows how many are rooting for him to get beat. This kid's not stupid.
It's the same reason NBA players tweeting about heavyweight nights matters, or NFL stars popping up ringside moves the needle. Cormier, not crowning anyone here. He's telling you why the needle moves, and in 2025, that's half the business. So how does each man actually win? For Tank, it starts with patience and ends with precision. He feints to blur the jab's rhythm, touches the body to pull Paul's elbows down, and lives on angles that shorten the bigger man's weapons. He doesn't need to win the center. He needs to win space inside the exchange and leave before the receipt. If fatigue creeps into Paul's feet and the jab loses snap, the straight left that was scoring starts to hurt. The hook that was checkmark tidy starts to snap the head. The body taps start to fold the guard. The stoppage, if it comes, is discovered late rather than hunted early. For Paul, the path is discipline in 3 acts. Establish boundaries, tax the smaller man without overcommitting, then cash in when exits slow. The double jab is the thesis. The right hand is the conclusion only when the paragraph is set. He must refuse the urge to admire single shots, avoid squared shoulders when shepherding Davis to the ropes, and use short, functional clinches that force a reset without drawing the referee's ire. Target selection matters. A steady body diet turns Tank's explosive entries into manageable steps, and manageable steps can be timed by a bigger athlete. If a clean right hand buzzes Tank, Paul's best friend is restraint. Walk him to the edge with jabs, score to the body, finish combinations at 3 instead of chasing 6. What makes this night fascinating is that both game plans are realistic. Tank has lived years inside these exchanges. He hunts mistakes that most fighters don't realize they made until they watch the replay. Paul has engineered a career around converting skepticism into results, tightening habits camp by camp, and resisting the urge to turn every moment into a viral swing. One man wins micro tests.
Private school Perry, time to go back to school.
The other tries to turn those tests into a spreadsheet. Jabs landed, resets forced, space controlled. The scorecards will likely follow whichever thesis survives the middle rounds. Beyond technique, the stakes are cultural. If the bigger man prevails by staying organized and landing the shot the poster seems to promise, the industry leans further into size, spectacle, and crossover risk. If the smaller master reads, edits, and outworks the algorithm in gloves, then the old rules still hold. Timing beats reach, craft beats clout, patience beats impulse. Either outcome says something loud about what sells, and what should count, in this era of frictionless streaming and cross-audience fight nights. There's also the unfinished business narrative simmering underneath. For purists, a clean Davis performance here doesn't erase the debates that followed his last outing. For the spectacle-first crowd, a decisive Paul win would supercharge the matchups he can credibly ask for next. That's why tempers flare whenever the conversation turns to merit track versus moment track. Tonight can't solve every argument, but it can sharpen them. If Tank wins, the drumbeat for a legacy-cleaning sequel in his own weight world grows louder. If Paul wins, the next call-out becomes a referendum on how far this road can go. So when the bell rings, watch for small things. Does the jab land as punctuation or just touch? Do entries happen on Tank's clock or Jake? Who finishes the exchange and who finishes the picture by leaving at an angle? Are clinches neat and quick or long and heavy? Are body shots changing posture or are they tally marks with no consequence? Those details are the bridge between a flashy poster and a result that actually means something. In the end, this showdown is a mirror. On one side, you'll see reach, scale, distribution muscle, and the bravado of a man who built a lane where none existed. On the other, you'll see economy, ring craft, and a champion's habit of turning inches into verdicts. However you feel about the build, the ring has a way of telling the truth. If craft rules the night, you'll see it in clean entries, quiet exits, and a score that widens as patience pays off. If scale writes the story, you'll see it in a jab that herds, a right hand that closes, and a smaller man forced to survive moments rather than sculpt them. That's the fight, that's the wager, 2 roadmaps. 1 bell, drop your pick below craft or scale and tell me which detail you think decides it.